Awesome. Again, welcome everyone. Today's webinar from Generation Green is all about how to submit your final report for your project so you can get those 20 community involvement hours, so you can get judged by our judging panel and potentially win prizes, and then move on to our project showcase where you can talk about your project. So it's very exciting. This is the end of our Generation Green journey, and this is the last step you have to do. Just let us know how your projects are going. So before I really get started, I wanted to do a land acknowledgement. As many of you know, the land on which we work and are committed to protecting today is Treaty 22. And as a community, have responsibility to honor, care for, and respect all that creation gives to provide us with life. This includes land, water, air, fire, animals, plants, and our ancestors. We acknowledge the land upon which we meet for Generation Green is the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. The Anishinaabe people have utilized this land for millennia, and we like to acknowledge their direct descendants, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, as the rightful caretakers and title holders of this land on which we work, live, and conduct ourselves. We also recognize that this land is rich in pre-contact history and customs, which includes the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and since European contact has and continues to become home for Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. It's the spirit and the intent of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement, where we will collectively care for, respect the land, water, animals, and each other in the interest of peace and friendship, and the benefit of not only ourselves, but our future descendants as well. Amazing. Like I said, this is kind of coming to the end of your Generation Green journey. Hopefully you would have kind of done the project, powered through if you had any obstacles, learned something. And if you're just kind of coming to the end, you still got a couple more days and potentially one more week to kind of get that project in. So today, like I said, it's all about that final submission and answering some of your questions about how to actually submit your project, so that way you can receive your 20 community involvement hours, plus be entered in to win prizes at our project showcase on April 25th, if you so choose. Just wanted to give a reminder of our timeline. You can think back to February 22nd, 2022, when we gave in our projects. We met earlier before then to talk about the project launch, and then March you were doing your projects. April 10th is the upcoming date. That is, again, like I said, about 10 days from now when your final projects are due. We move right into our judging period, so the judges have your projects. In between then, there's also Easter, and then on April 25th, we have our project showcase, which all of you are invited to. Anybody who submitted a project, your group members, other members of your school, they're all invited to attend on this day, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on. And of course, the registration for that hasn't opened up yet, but you will hear all about it, I promise. Awesome. This is just kind of recap from last week. If you weren't with us, we talked about calculations. These are just some common questions as we kind of reach up to the end as we go into our final report about those calculations. So if you don't have time to finish your project before, that should say April 10th, you can submit after, but if you submit after, you will not be part of our project submission. So the deadline is hard if you do want to be part of the judging process, if you want your project to be judged with the potential to win prizes and all that stuff, then you do need to submit your project before April 10th. But if you're not really interested in that and you only really want the volunteer hours, then the deadline for that, of course, is April 25th. So in short, I'll say that do submit your projects if you're interested or you think you might want to be involved in those prizes. You think you got a good project, you did a great impact, you want to be recognized for your work, definitely get your project in by April 10th at midnight. And if you do not want that, you do have a little bit more time, but of course you have to note that it might take longer for you to get your volunteer hours, as those that submitted earlier will get those first. If your project was interrupted by COVID regulations, school closing, like I know in January or February, or if you were in virtual school, of course you can still submit. We talked a little bit about that last week. You can estimate, you can do different things. You can still be doing surveys, connecting, talking about transportation, how that impacts your life. All of that is part of the project. So we'll get into how you can talk that through in the final report. And again, if you aren't sure if you're doing your calculations right, you can check out our webinar that I did last week where I talked through the calculations. That's available up on our website, and you can also email me. And if you have any concerns, of course, just send them to me. I'll send them back some comments and we can get those calculation sheets in so you can see the impact, and we can all see the impact of what we've done over the 7 or so weeks that we've been doing the project. Awesome. Okay, let's move right into final submission and let's take a quick look at it. I'm gonna quickly flip screen. So this is the Generation Green Final Report. It's a Google form, just like your project proposals. There's different sections that it'll be in, very, very similar to the project proposal. So you should be able to access this form on this site here, Climate Collective Generation Green Project FAQ. I'm going to put that into the chat. So you can see that if you click submit your final project right here, you'll get bumped into this Google form. If you also scroll down, you can see the first page of this Google form. You can start filling it out right here. And when you hit next, you'll get kind of bumped into the process. This form is open to you, so you can come back in. It'll save your answers based on your email. If you are concerned, if you don't, I think it's going to take about maybe 25 minutes or so to complete the whole form. You can also skip through, get those questions out, and then work on it maybe in the Google page or something like that, or on Word, and then copy and paste your answers in once you know the questions as well. So this is all available to you here. Yeah, so you can easily find it. Let's get into it. So section 1 of the form is just the project basics. So it's include the title of your project, and if you're just in by yourself, or your group members, if you're doing it with a group, list everybody's names, list their emails. So you can put everyone down. Those are just the basic information there. Part of that basic information, of course, is also your grade, your school, and that type of information. Again, your municipality. So just kind of, that's a very simple section to fill out. Sorry, I'm gonna bear with me as I go back and forth. So I'm just gonna show it to you there. It's your school, your grade. You can see in the form, again, in itself, your name is there, first and last name, the title, your students, everybody's contributed, all that great stuff. Your municipality, like I mentioned, your school board, and your grade. And then the important question here is whether or not you want to be part of that competitive stream. So if you're, again, like I mentioned, somebody who wasn't interested in the judging, who didn't want to submit their project to potentially win a bursary. So this year our prizes are a cash prize delivered. We have 6 prizes, 1 in our top sort of recognized categories, most impact, most creative, and most innovative. And then we have grade categories, just like we did in the past. So if you are not interested in that stream, you just kind of want to do the project for those community involvement hours, and of course, just for the experience, then just hit no. If you're interested in being part of that competitive stream, hit yes, and then you can move on to the next section. Cool. So section 2 is all about the final written report. So this is where you put in the details of your project, outline what you did. This is where you're going to put that calculation sheet uploaded into a Google folder for us. And you're going to talk about how your project actually went. So in this section 2, you're going to be going through as well. Like I said, this is kind of what it looks like for you putting your calculations. You're going to be putting in your results. You're going to be discussing what you did for your project. So you're going to be saying like how it went. So if there was any setbacks, what happened? Did you have to kind of pivot or change your idea? Did something like that? So you're going to have time to kind of break down the whole process of your project for us. Again, you can see in the form when I move on to section 2, the written project, you can describe your project, your intentions, what happened, what did you do in the process? So did you bike to school every single day? And you can kind of talk through it here, and why you did it. So again, maybe you bike to school every single day because you're reaching your GHG admissions. How did that go? Was there days when you couldn't bike because it was super, super, super snowy, surprise snow like a couple of days ago? Like I said, here's where you put your calculations in. Now there was a problem, I think, with the HDSB and HCDSB domains and me uploading forms, which I think last week I talked about how you could upload your forms. This year you can just, it's not live right now, but when you see the form, when you click from that link, you'll open up to a folder just like this. And just like that, you can drag your Excel sheet, or if it's a PDF, you save it as PDF with your first and last name directly into this drive from your desktop. So just kind of drag it and drop it into here instead of uploading it. So that's sort of a little big difference here. You should have direct access to this. If not, it might get sent directly to me and I'll give you access. But that is just the big difference from last year to this year. So again, you'll get that link in the form. It's just right there. When you see it live, it'll be a live link. So you can just easily click it, drag and drop. And that's how we can check out your calculations. That totals number, if you look at your calculation sheet, which I'll pull up in a second to go through it if you have any other questions about that. As it pulls through, you'll see your final impact. There is a box, I believe it's G44. You can pop that number right into this question here so that we can see those final impact numbers there. But that's also just pulled from your calculation sheet. Like I said, there's a chance for you in this form to discuss and reflect your project. So you can describe what happened, if you had any challenges, what you learned, if you wanted to improve on your project, maybe next year, or if you were thinking back and reflecting on your project is something you would do differently. Thinking a little bit about, well, I know that the sustainability development goals, like how does this project relate to other climate change topics? Again, I didn't put any word count in here. This is kind of up to you to fill out. Ideally, I'm looking for something as a map, like between, I would say like 150, 250 words, but that's kind of up to you. Of course, you can also reference if your project is ongoing. Some projects do kind of continue on. Maybe it's something, an action that you would like to continue doing. Just talk about that here and your next steps. And this question is in particular, if you are thinking, if you're looking at barriers, if you were looking at barriers in your school, in your community, what's something you would suggest to your municipality or your school board in order to get maybe make some changes overall. This information I'm going to be sharing with the municipalities and both school boards. So hopefully your projects can create real action. And I know they're very keen to see what you guys have been doing, as well as kind of put into effect some of the things that you might suggest. So take some time, of course, in this section to fill it out. This is the meat of the final report. It's the more important stuff where you get to explain what you did and how you did it and why. Like I said, this should take maybe, I said 30 minutes here. That's to, if you'd like 25 to 30 minutes to complete this written section. So do take some time to think it through, to put things in here. You can see the questions now. You can get access into the form and come back later. So you don't have to fill it out all in one go. So you have some time, like I said, to complete the entire section. Is there any questions about the written part of the form as it stands? I see a question in the chat about the title. The title can be something as simple as My Generation Green Project, or it can be something more creative like Traveling in Winter or Winter Travel. I'm not as creative on the spot, but the title is really up to you. It's, yeah, again, it's just a way for us to identify the different projects, add a little fun into it as well. So you can even name it, yeah, like I said, be as simple or as creative as you'd like. That's up to you. I wouldn't stress about the title. Move through that quickly so you can get to the reflection parts of the final report. Amazing. This is, and then there's one last section, this is section 3. This is a new sort of section for this year. This section is sort of your visual section or your visual reports, whereas section 2, you would kind of write down all of your answers, answering those questions about the process of your project. In the visual section, you're going to represent that stuff that you typed up in a PowerPoint slide, just like the slides I'm showing now. So you can even open up PowerPoint and open up the slide, have an image if you'd like, drop just images in if you took pictures of your bike rides, or if you have a survey that you want to show, or if you want to put some graphs or any information there, if you just kind of want to type up some point form notes about what it is that you did, maybe a picture of yourself if you'd like, with your title. You can have the space of a PowerPoint slide to fill. You can either save it as a PowerPoint or you can save it as a PDF, and you can upload it similarly like the calculation sheet into a Google Drive folder. Name the folder your first and last name and just drag and drop any items that you'd like. If you have an infographic, if you have a survey sample, if you have those graphs, you can drag and drop all that stuff into your designated folder. Again, so that you can showcase all of the stuff that you've been doing. These slides, these visual reports that you're putting together, they will be part of a larger PowerPoint, which we'll show on the day of on our April project showcase, is a way to showcase every single project that was submitted, to showcase the work that you've done, recognize you. So you can, again, you can just put some words, a slide, an image. You can find the images online. You can look at Pixabay or Pixels for free images that are copyright free, so you can pop them in there. This section is up to you. Again, it just has to be the size of a PowerPoint slide, which is, again, just like this. Or if you're wondering the dimensions, it's 10 by 7.5 inches or 25 by 19 centimeters. Or you can see the pixel size there. So if you're creating something yourself, then you can put that thing in there, or you can just open up PowerPoint and pop the information into that PowerPoint slide and upload it again into that Drive folder. So you'll see in that section 3 that there is a chance for you to submit your visual element in this Google Drive folder. Again, this link will be live when you're actually doing the form, not doing the form from the back like I am. And then again, you can drag and drop all of your stuff in here. Yeah, you can do anything you like in the visual representation of your project. If you have an infographic, you can drag and drop that in. You can also, like I said, this is an image. You can drag and drop your infographic as a PNG or a JPEG file and kind of pop it into this slide. Anyhow you want to represent your project, you can pop it into a slide just like this. You can add some words if you'd like, bullet points, just like you're doing a little presentation with your project title up at the top here. And once you're done that, once you've done the written part, you've uploaded your calculation sheet, you put your impact number in, and you submitted your visual section, then you are finished. Generation Green project, your project is now fully submitted. If you've selected that you want it to be in a competitive stream with a chance to win those bursaries on Project Showcase Day on April 25th, then your project moves into judging. If not, then your project is complete. After submitting your project, then you will receive your 20 community involvement hours. So you need to submit your final project, not just the project proposal, this final project form in order to receive your 20 community involvement hours. So if you have done the project and you want to get those hours, you want to be involved in that judging, you want to get potential to win prizes, you need to submit your form by April 10th, 2022. So this is a final form. This is the real final step of Generation Green. You won't be able to get your 20 hours unless you submit your final project form. Cool, like I said, it's important to put in your totals sheet, your impact number, your G4, so that's G44 slide. I'll pull up the calculation sheet again so you can see it. Again, that's sort of, we know how much impact we've actually made. In the past, we've reduced 20.4 tons of carbon dioxide equivalents in our first year. I think it was 23.9 in our second year. This year, I'm expecting that we will do way more than that. Transportation is always the biggest category, so it'd be great to see all of the project numbers, all of that impact together on the project showcase day. And of course, you need to fill out that written section, the who, what, why, when, where of your project with the results, talking about what you did, and of course, include that images, that visual aspect so that we can visually see what you did on the day of. And also, it's just nice if you are considering thinking about doing the competitive stream. I know the judges appreciate having a visual sort of, think of, I guess, maybe the written part kind of like a cover letter, and then the visual part like a resume. It's nice to have both pieces there. They look at both, and that really does complete your project for this year. That's basically it. Yeah, it's very simple. The form is available to you on the website. I'll put the link again into the chat so you can see it. That's the wrong link. It's got climatecollective.ca/generation green. I'm typing project FAQ. Again, you can save the form or saves your responses. So you can go in, you can fill up the section 1, which is the simple stuff with the project title, your grade, your emails, all that great stuff. That should be simple for you to fill out, and then move into the written section where you can look at those answers, take some time to think through your answers. You can even copy and paste if you're working from a Word document directly into the Google form, or type directly into the Google form. That written section should take about 25 to 30 minutes to fill out as you think through. If you've done some of your writing up beforehand, say you had a journal and writing up your process, then the written part might take a little bit less time just because you've done already that proactive work. But again, you can put all that stuff into the written part there. Be honest, be truthful, get kind of reflective, think about your project in a different way, get that visual section kind of completed. That shouldn't take you too long either. I'm estimating probably 10-15 minutes to throw that together, especially if you've already done the work, the written stuff, just taking that stuff and kind of visually representing it. Once you hit that submit, you're done. You've got your 20 community involvement hours. You're part of Gen Green. You're invited to a project showcase. You have potential to win prizes, and you can pat yourself on the back for a job well done, because you went through from the start in February all the way to the finish, and that is a feat in itself. Cool. Like I said, the projects are due April 10th. It's at midnight, so you definitely have that whole day. That's Sunday to complete your projects. If you are interested in the judging, you need to complete your form by the end of April 10th. If it's submitted any day after April 10th, then it will no longer be eligible for that competitive stream, but I'll still honor those 20 community involvement hours up until I think the end of the week there leading up to the project showcase. So definitely get your forms in. And like I said, late submissions won't be considered for prizes and awards. And do not leave it to last minute, so that way you can enjoy your Sunday. Again, like I said, these are responses. You can keep the form open, come back to it as often as you'd like. And also don't forget, don't keep it open and not submit. You definitely want to submit on April 10th or even before. You can submit earlier if you'd like. And that link there, you see at the bottom, bit.ly/2022 final submit, is that same, that goes directly to that form there. But again, you can find the form on that link that I popped into the chat as well, which I know I'll also be emailing to you. I probably already emailed to you, so you can always check your email for that final submission as well. Leading up after you finished your final submission and you're excited because your project has gone into judging, or you're just done and you're ready to take your 20 community involvement hours, you will be invited regardless to our April 25th project showcase day. That is in Queen Elizabeth Park Community and Cultural Center in Oakville. We'll have buses from Burlington or Milton, if that's where you happen to be, that take you down to Oakville so you can join in. We'll have workshops, like how to repair a bike, talking about winter cycling, talking about transportation, how to take public transit. There'll be interesting workshops that you can be a part of. You can learn more about your peers' projects. So there'll be a chance for those projects, those 6 that will be recognized, to present on the day. So you can hear about all the different things people have done. You can chance to win prizes. We'll have some door prizes. We'll have, of course, those big prizes. There'll be food. It will hopefully be sunny. It goes from 9:30 to 3:30, so it should be a fun and exciting day. All of you are invited. Registration for that is coming soon. Amazing. I put 2 slides in because it is so awesome. So again, that's a chance for you to hear more about the project. It's on Monday, April 25th. Stay tuned for more, but let's get our projects in first. April 10th is the day that you want to submit your projects, especially if you want to be part of the competitive stream, especially if you want that 20 community involvement hours for the work that you've done as part of this project. Again, I think I kind of covered this stuff here, so I'll just skip through and head right to our questions. If you have any questions, you can put them into the chat and I will answer them. If you raised your hand, then you can just go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
I have a question.
Yes, ask away.
So I have 3 questions on like section 1. I believe there's like we have to like say where we live and stuff. So if we like live in a certain municipality and then we go to school in another one, um like does that matter or do we just say where we live?
Yeah, great question. Do answer it about where you live, not where you go to school. So if you are in Oakville, but you just go to school in Burlington, then hit Oakville. This is again just the municipalities want to know kind of where we all at. It'd only really be shared with me and our HCC leadership team, so it's not like it's going all over the place. But yeah, just put in where you live. You don't put your address, just the general location in which you are.
Okay. And then my second question was like, is there like a preferred amount that we should write per question?
Yeah, great question. Last year I did include word counts, but this year I decided not to kind of leave it a little bit more flexible to you. My estimate is to write between 150 and 250 words per question. In that second section there, I don't know how many questions are. I think there's roughly 8. There might be a little bit more than that. Some of them are just yes and no, so that makes it easy. But that's kind of the ballpark that you should do. That's like basically 1 paragraph per answer. If you have more to say, then by all means, you can put in more. If you have a little bit less to say, I would encourage you to think a little bit more and try to put a little bit more in there. I'm sure you have more when you think about it, but that is the ballpark that you should be aiming for.
Okay, thank you. And for section 3, like is it okay if we like add a link or image?
Yeah, so in the PowerPoint slide size, so again, what you can do is you can open up PowerPoint. If you don't have PowerPoint, you can open up Google Slides as well. And you can pop in whatever you'd like into those slides. So I say it in a slide just because I'm going to be taking all those slides and compiling them into a master PowerPoint that'll run through so that way each project can be shown. This is your chance to showcase the things that you've done in whatever way you want to. If that's a link, you can pop it in there. Of course, when it's being shown as a PowerPoint presentation, you might not be able to go to that link, but people can always jot it down and check it out later. If you built a web page, for example, in the past, there was one project I remember where they documented their journey. I think they were doing food waste and they were doing a lot of Meatless Monday recipes, and they created a whole website. So they included the link for that, which is really cool. So people could go in and they could check it out. So if you have a link, if you have some images, you can pop it into that slide. And you can showcase your project visually however you'd like. If you took your own images, and you can pop those in. If you didn't take any images and you're trying to look for some on the internet just to make sure that they're copyright free, I would suggest going to, I'll put it into the chat, and I can email this or put it onto the website as well, a copyright free site like Pixabay or Pixels, and you can find something that visually represents your project and pop those into those slides as well. So this is your chance to represent your project. First, part 1 is just typing up, writing down your project for the judges to kind of read through, and for me too, and for yourself to kind of reflect on the process. Part 3 is really that visual. How would you represent or show your project to maybe your peer or somebody else? Or if you wanted to present about your project, how would you showcase your project? And you got 1 slide to show it all. So if you want to use words, if you want to use links, if you want to use images, that's really up to you. But it is part of the final submission as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see some questions in the chat, so I'm just gonna pivot for a second, and then whoever's hand was up next can ask their question. Budget slides only. I think in this question it would be asked if maybe you were very creative and you wanted to create like a video or something like that. You can also pop that into the slide if you'd like. I'm not sure if that's something you created, or if you created something like a website or something you wanted to screenshot it and pop it in. You can pop that in as well. If you have a hard copy of, say, your infographic or an image or a video or something like that, that maybe won't fit in your slide, you can again drag it and drop it into your designated folder in this drive here. It might not be part of that final showcase PowerPoint if it's not in that PowerPoint side, but again, it will still be part of the judging portfolio that we give to our community partner judges. a little bit more, I guess, about the judging is they have a rubric, which you can check out on our website. We have 35 judges from both the Halton District School Board, Halton Catholic District School Board, from Dillon Consulting, our partner, which is an environmental consulting firm, our HEN board, which are professionals from a bunch of different walks of life, some with environmental background, teachers from both boards as well. So there's like a nice mix of different groups as well. So there'll be, the submissions they get are anonymous, so they don't know who they are. They just get the written report and that visual report, so they see that and then they mark it. Two judges will mark one project, so then we average that out and we get the final remark. And that's kind of how the whole process works. So again, any other information that you don't put on your slide that you want to share, you can put into your folder. Just make sure that it's in the right place so that we can find it and it's not kind of wandered to a different location. That makes sense. Yeah, if you're doing a group project, then you only need to submit one form. As you saw that in the project section part 1, where it says list your names and list the students part of this project and their emails. So if you are doing a project with a group of friends or siblings or etc., then you can submit one form altogether. How you divide up the form, filling it out, or if you work together, is up to you. Just make sure that you list every single person involved. That's so that I can make sure to give them the 20 community involvement hours. I will be cross-referencing with the project proposals as well to make sure that I didn't miss anybody, just in case. And of course, you can work on how you want that visual part of the project to look. Again, you don't need to submit one per person if you were in a group. Just submit one for your group. And that's where also where the titles can come in handy too. If you're a group and you want to title your project, it's easier than saying, you know, Jack's project. You can be like our project, great, whatever, great project. But you can kind of do it there as well. So you can work through the form together or separate it out however you'd like. So it's again, one form per group. If you're doing an individual project, then of course you just fill out the form for yourself and you can kind of complete that process there. One per person, just one for the entire group. Yes, exactly. One form per group. Thank you for putting that together. Amazing, and that sort of answers that question. Yeah, so if you're working in a group, it's one visual element, one calculation form, depending on how you kind of did that. Actually, it's not really one calculation form because you're kind of all doing your individual stuff. So you could again name it, put it into the calculation form, but combine your impact there, and kind of fill out that form together. So that way, again, you're not submitting multiple different forms, but one group project form. Amazing. And I do know there was a hand raise. So if your hand was raised and you haven't got a chance to ask your questions yet, do feel free to unmute and ask away. Sorry, I just can't see the participants right now.
Oh, hi, excuse me. Am I audible?
Sorry, what was your question?
Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so when I was opening the calculation sheet, I'm not able to view the boxes that I'm able to insert the information.
Excellent. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll probably send you a calculation sheet that's blank, just directly. I did send another one in an email recently, but when it goes to a mass amount of people, sometimes I wonder if the attachments don't go through. I can resend you a calculation form that's blank that you can fill out. It's not a Google form, it'll be Excel. So hopefully you can open up an Excel form. Would that work for you?
Yes. And for section 2, what's the difference between the first 2 questions?
Great question. So the first question, describe your process or intentions, is basically kind of almost a repeat of your project proposal. So if you don't remember what you put in your project proposal and you just want to see those answers, email me and I can send you your answers from before. But basically it was like, what was your goal? And this could be where it's a little bit more simple. You know, I'm almost backtracking on myself because I did say I kind of want a paragraph per question, but this is one of those examples where it's actually a little bit better to be a little bit more brief and then go more detailed in the second one. Basically, this question is talking about if you were doing like a scientific project, what's your thesis? or what were you intending to find or do on your project. So this is thinking back to, again, like I said, the project proposal. If you had lofty goals, if you were thinking about doing something different, this is when you kind of return to those answers or your intention, and you type up what you wanted your project to do. The second question outlines what you actually did. So for example, let's say my intentions for my project, my goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions was I'm going to reduce my car use as much as possible. I'm going to bike or walk or as much as possible. I'm going to and from work and to the grocery store for 3 weeks. So I intend to reduce my greenhouse gas emissions because I'm completely cutting out my vehicle, my personal vehicle, and that should have an impact on yeah, that should take my climate action. I'm rambling because I'm making it up on the spot, but basically that's what I would put and describe your project. How do I do my project? Well, when I wake up, I'm going to actively choose not to use the car. So I maybe use Google Maps in order to make sure to see where distances are, time out where I'm going. This is how I did it on this day, or if I use a log or something like that. So you kind of describe the process of how you did your project, why you did it, what happened, and that type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. And also for my idea, it was sort of a school challenge type thing. So it's my idea, but I have the whole school participate. So for who participate in a project, I had over 100 people. So would I list all their emails and all their names?
Yeah, great question. No, this is your project. So you put your name down and your email down. Even if you got a survey and you had, let's say 150 people or 200 people or even 50 people complete your survey, it's still your project. So you can describe your project. Your intention was to inspire others to take action through a survey, or also to keep track of how their choices for public transport or active transportation within the 2 weeks. So you don't need to put down every single person that filled out your survey. This is still your project. The only option would be for listing your projects is if you were doing it with a friend, for example, or a group of people that all signed up as part of the project proposal. That's when you would list your name. But anybody else in that, if you're the one who's doing the work, who's creating the survey, who's typing up the project, then you just need to put down your email and name.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
No worries. Yeah, and I'm seeing some comments to you about a project. This is definitely a great project. So if you did like a survey to find barriers or to get public opinions or ideas on what maybe why they weren't taking active transportation or something like that, that is a very, very good project to put in. If you have something you did, then you can just describe your project and outline the process. So if you created a survey on Google Forms, how did you give it out? Did you give a link? Did you print out the survey or something like that? Or did you just talk about it? And how did you go about getting that survey out to people, and what are the results that you get back? And discuss and reflect, when you describe the outcomes and impacts, that's where you can say, well, 150 people filled out my survey. This is what I learned from these 150 people. 50% of them didn't walk because they were too far away, or blah, blah, blah. However you wanted to kind of break it out, you can kind of fill out that information here. So you take the action that you did, and that either is just individual action, you can kind of talk through your own individual process, or if you did individual plus and you did a little bit something extra, you can describe some of those challenges. Was it hard to get the survey out to lots of different people? Did a lot of people open the survey, but not many people completed it, so you had to do a little bit of reminders? What are some of the challenges that you faced there? And just kind of running through your projects. What did you learn? What would you do different next time? This one, again, is thinking about, maybe you were talking about transportation, but what came out of it is a lot of people talked about energy, or you were talking about access, climate justice, social justice issues, anything that came up, you can kind of talk about it a little bit here. And then, of course, you can think about what you would suggest for your school or municipality in order to implement your project, or if you were doing a survey, maybe you learned something from what people said and you put that learnings in here. So you can just walk through all those answers there. Yes, if you do click yes to be part of the competitive stream or the competition, that means that you're automatically in the running to win the prizes and to be judged by our judging panel. If you're not interested in that, you just want the 20 community involvement hours, then just say no. fill out the form as normal and hit submit. Your visual part of your project will still be part of our final presentation. So the project showcase, you'll still be recognized, but you won't have to worry about your project going to judges or getting the opportunity to win those prizes if that's something you're not interested in anyway. Ooh, great question. I actually didn't prepare like an example of a visual thing because I was using my presentation as an example. But yeah, it could be something as simple as what I've done for any of these slides, really. Or it could be more visual, like this one is an actual image, for example. You can even pop that in, or you can add more words. Yeah, I didn't do it mostly also because I didn't want to give too many ideas. I wanted to make sure that it was visually what you wanted to do. But again, if you think like a PowerPoint slide, there's done some different formats you can do with words and an image on the side, 2 images. You can do one big image, or you can just do a whole slide of only images and even without words. That's really up to you. The one thing is it's just got to be this PowerPoint side. So that's why I suggested opening up PowerPoint or opening up Google Slides and just copying and pasting or dragging in your stuff so that it's fitted here. Then you can save it as a PDF and or you can save it as a PowerPoint and drop it into your folder. So I'm really going to leave that question up to you.